Georgina with the Association of British Paediatric Nurses, and today I'm going to be talking to a children's nurse. We're going to talk all about their life and their experiences of being a children's nurse. I hope you enjoy the video.
Hi, I'm here today with Emma Garner, and we're going to talk all about her experiences as a children's nurse. So, welcome.
Hi.
So, how long have you been a children's nurse for?
So I started at the University of Salford as a student children's nurse in January of this year, January 23. So
Wow.
yeah, only going into my 10th month now.
Oh, amazing. And why did you choose children's nursing?
So it's a very loaded question. I was a teacher for 16 years before going into children's nursing. So I worked in secondary schools for a long time. And in 2016, I started having my own children. 2017, I had my second child, Thomas, and he was born with very, very severe life-limiting conditions. So he spent his whole life in hospital. He spent his whole life in Alderhay Hospital. He started in St Mary's, transferred over to Alderhay, had quite a lot of surgeries there. Sadly, he got worse and worse. He declined and he died in 2018. But during the time that we spent in Alderhay Hospital, we saw like the most incredible level of care that I've never seen in my life before. Like the compassion, the commitment, the drive to just make a difference in people's lives, no matter what was going on. It could be, you're having the worst day ever, your child is having a terrible day, but yet these people are there for you and for your child, regardless. They could be telling you the worst thing ever, but they're still there for you. And I kind of saw something in that kind of made me think, actually, I could do this. So after he died, I went back to work as a teacher, and nothing really felt kind of right anymore. Nothing felt the same. Nothing felt like it mattered as much as that kind of work did. So I decided, actually, after having two more children, that I was going to make a change. I wasn't happy anymore in the job that I was doing. I didn't feel like I was making enough of a difference. So I handed my notice in, applied to 4 universities, got into all of them, and decided to go to Salford.
Wow.
So,
I'm
yeah.
so sorry about Thomas, but it is so
Thank you.
incredible that you've turned this into a real passion to help others. That's
Yeah, I mean, like what we saw, like the difference that those people, those nurses, that group of medics can make on one family. And obviously I've met huge amounts of families in the same position, sadly. But the one kind of thread that goes through it all is that the care they received was just second to none. Like, you get this level of, I can't even describe what it is. It's just this level of somebody actually genuinely caring for you, for your child, for whoever's there. And it's not just because they're at work, which is what a lot of jobs can become.
yeah.
It's actually because they want to be there. Because let's be honest, they're not going to be there if they don't want to be there because they don't get paid enough to do it. So, yeah.
And so you're obviously very new to this job. That's very exciting. What did your training look like?
So far, I have spent 10 months, kind of half of it in university, half of it on placements. I've had 2 placements so far. I had a community placement, which was health visiting and safeguarding. Very, very different from my previous role, but lots of overlaps in terms of the safeguarding part of it. So I was working with a community team, a really, really lovely, lovely team of people that just couldn't do enough for everyone they met. And the clinical placement, the ward placement I had, which I just finished last week, actually. Again, a very different type of placement because it's on a ward, working with, I think it was like a 29 bed ward, so potential up to 29 patients, working with a group of staff, having your own patients to look after. Yeah, it was just really, really good being able to go from patient to patient, listening to their stories, listening to why they were there, talking to them, obviously having a role in their medical care as well, and understanding a little bit more about that. It's just really, really interesting to me.
So are you now a fully qualified children's nurse, or are you still in training?
Yeah, no, I'm still in training. So because I'm doing a master's program, I finish in January 25. So it's a 2-year program because I already had I already had a degree. My degree's in biology. And because I had spent a long time working with children, so 16 years in teaching, and then I spent 6 months working alongside Thomas's carers as his kind of, obviously, primarily his parent, but when your child's in hospital, as you know, the parents end up doing an awful lot of it too. So yeah, I used that experience as well to be able to get onto the master's programme, which then allowed me to do a full pre-reg nursing degree in 2 years. So I'll qualify in about 14 months.
Oh, that's very exciting. What's been the most difficult part of the training so far?
It's been intense. It has been. It's been hard going in terms of the amount of content that we've had to learn quickly. And then whilst doing that, having to hand assessments in whilst being on placement, that's been intense. Totally honestly, it's been really difficult financially. I've gone from a full-time paid job to no pay, working 37-hour weeks, not getting paid to do it, in fact, paying to put my children in childcare whilst working. So yeah, that's something that's been very, very difficult. It has been quite difficult emotionally at times, because obviously there's been a lot of like triggers from Thomas, but we're getting there with those. I expected those. So
yeah. It's good to give people a very realistic look into what it's like to be in training as well, because rather than going in with rose-tinted glasses, oh, I'm going to be helping everyone and it's going to be great to actually
not always, no.
picture. Yeah. And what's been your favorite part so far?
Oh gosh. I think so. Without giving away too much confidentially, I worked with a patient that had very complex medical needs, life-limiting complex medical needs. And I spent quite a lot of time working with him as my placement went on. And one day I had enough time that I was able to get him out of his bed, put him into his chair and take him on a walk around the hospital, just me and him. And that didn't happen for him very often. It happens, obviously ward demand is massive. It happened enough, but it didn't happen every day for him. So I just really, really enjoyed getting him out, spending that one-to-one time with him, just walking him around a hospital, walking around the sites, taking him into the garden, showing him some butterflies, getting some sun in his face. That was actually my favourite experience so far. I hope to have many more experiences like that.
I think that's lovely. And what does a typical day look like for you at the moment?
So last week, for example, if I was on placement, it would consist of getting up at about 5:30, getting some breakfast ready, sorting my lunch out, putting the kids' uniforms out when they got ready, when they got up, sorry. Then I would leave the house by kind of 7:15, get to placement for 7 because I was very, very close to home. I would then start my day with handover and would then go and do bedside checks, OBS, and then the whole day would just kind of happen. I can't tell you how, because I could look at the time and it'd be like 2:00, and last time I looked at the time it was 9:00. And yeah, just getting busy in whatever was needed on the ward, and then finishing at about 8:00, going home, not seeing my kids unfortunately because they'd be in bed by that time, managing to have some tea, have a shower and go back to bed again.
Wow.
Repeat.
So very full on.
Yeah, but that's only, so the shift work, I've never worked shift work before. The shift work is 3 or on occasion 4 days a week, and then you've got the other days off. So it can work out really, really well. So for example, if I wanted to sort it with childcare, I could work 2 days at the weekend and then 1 in the week. And then that works much better. If I needed like a week of where I was doing something in the day, I could work nights. So yeah.
And so what do you do on those 2 days? Is it studying, or do you actually get some time to relax?
It depends. So at the beginning of placement, it would have been studying because we had deadlines as well at that time. So there was a time where we were working 37.5-hour weeks minimum. And then we were having to kind of think about submitting our dissertations. That's now done. So when I'm not in, generally I've got one of my children at home. My youngest is 2, so yeah, he's currently in bed right now having a nap. Otherwise, weekends, it's just family time, really. Yeah.
Oh, I'm glad you get some time with them. Bless you.
Yeah, it's just whatever. I just try and make the most of the time off if I haven't got
Yeah.
anything else on. I make kids' clothes in my spare time, so that's something that I like to do.
Oh,
So,
lovely. And do you
um,
have a personal mantra or philosophy?
in terms of what, like,
Just in terms of your life, it can be related to nursing or just in general.
I don't really know. I think in relating to nursing, it doesn't get much more personal, does it, than being the person that makes a positive effect on somebody else's life. So
Yeah.
that's what I would like to do. Generally, I don't know. I always try and see the positive in everything. So obviously, my situation is dire. My child died. That it doesn't get any worse than that, in my opinion. But I could have gone one or two ways. I could have sat around and not gone back to work, and or I can do something that actually means that his life and his legacy is continued. And to me, this is Thomas's legacy.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
definitely. And what 3 words do you think children you've worked with would describe you as?
Oh gosh. uh, lively. I'd love to say funny, but they might disagree. Enthusiastic, sometimes over the top. Gesticulative, if kids probably wouldn't use that word, they would they? Yeah, no, I don't know.
That's fine. And what qualities do you think a children's nurse needs to have?
Resilience, 100% resilience. You are going to see so much that is going to be upsetting, that's going to be life-changing, that's going to be like really good, really bad. You're going to just see so much. You're going to have to be resilient. You ask the question again, sorry.
What qualities do you think a
Qualities.
children's nurse needs?
I think you have to be energetic. You have to be energetic because you need to keep children engaged all the time. Children's nursing is so different from adults nursing because you're caring for not just the child, but their family as well. And more often than not, you've got a parent there as well. So you've got to be able to communicate with the child on the child's level, be it 0 months old or 15 years old. So that's a huge range of communication kind of differences. And then on top of that, you've got to be able to communicate with the parent or carer too at the same time often. So children's nurses need to be very skilled in communication, in my opinion.
Yeah. And what do you think, as somebody who's studying currently, what do you think are the essential sort of tools that somebody needs to have going onto a ward?
Scissors.
Scissors.
Need to have scissors because you will take out 27,000 cannulas a day and you can never find a pair of scissors. So have them in your pocket. You need to have food.
Yeah.
Because the lunch queues are so ridiculously long that when you get your half-an-hour break, you go down, you stand in the queue for 25 minutes, and you realise actually the queue hasn't moved. You're not going to get a break, so you go back up to the ward hungry.
Oh no.
Yep. Personally, for me, a lot of caffeine because, again, same reason.
Yeah.
Comfortable shoes. Skechers have been my lifesaver. And I don't know if it's going to go against university policy here, but do not wear the university trousers because they're awful. Our university has said as long as they are black and as long as they look like smart trousers, you can wear them.
Yeah.
So yeah, I have the best pair of trousers with a yoga waistband on, and they have saved me through many IBS moments.
Yeah, definitely. I'm a big fan of one of those big elasticated waists.
Bigger than maternity, they are brilliant. That's my toolkit personally, anyway.
Yeah, that's brilliant. And if you could give advice to somebody who's wanting to become a children's nurse, what would you tell them?
It's a really good question. I would say you need to think very carefully about what it is that you want to get out of it. I believe I was aware of what I was going into. And I still believe that my kind of idea of what I was going into is right, because I've witnessed it firsthand. But I do think a lot of people go into children's nursing thinking they're going to be cuddling babies a lot and, doing kind of cute things like playing with them. There's so much more to it than that. You're telling doctors what to do. As a student, in some cases, you are, I don't want to use the word skilled, you are more adept in certain things than junior doctors are, because they're seeing such a wide range, whereas we're seeing just children. Know what you're getting yourself in for. But know that, and I'm only 10 months in, but it has been the most rewarding thing I've done in my life. There have been low moments too, but it's been exceptionally rewarding so far.
That's so lovely to hear. And what are the biggest challenges that children's nurses are facing at the moment?
There is a huge strain on children's nurses with the amount that we've got to do in such a small amount of time, in terms of meeting proficiencies, meeting competencies, all this. The 37.5 working hour week, which is in a minimum working hour week, which we have to do every single week. And we get 4 weeks holiday a week. That's it. It's a 4 weeks holiday a week. That would be good. 4 weeks holiday a year without being paid for it is fairly soul destroying. So, like I mentioned before, paying for full-time childcare for 2 of my children, not school age, when getting no government help, it's soul destroying when I don't actually have an income. If I was being paid to do it, it would feel a little bit better. Because when you're on the ward, you're not just a student, you're not just there to watch somebody or to get involved every so often. You are doing everything. People are asking you to help with this, help with that, do whatever you can within your capabilities, of course. But you are used as a ward clerk, you're used as a healthcare assistant, you're used as a counsellor, every single thing you can do. That is the challenge, is the lack of financial support for students, particularly even through student loan company. It's not enough.
Yeah. And when things are hard with work, what keeps you going?
For me, it's only ever going to be as hard as you let it become, I think. Like, I really don't think that you can experience much worse than I've experienced, which is child death. So it kind of, for me, puts things into perspective. So when things are getting hard, in terms of, it's just hard because it's a difficult day, as in there's a lot to do or whatever, you just know that you've got your next break coming up, or you can have 5 minutes just needing a bit of downtime or whatever. When things get hard on the ward because of the conditions or whatever's going on, I suppose you just have to almost look to the positives and realize that regardless of what's happening, you are making a difference. So I will come across children dying, and that's horrendous, and that'll be the worst case for those families. But I could be that person that helps them put something in place, that helps them make a memory, that gives them a memento, or that suggests something that will affect them for the rest of their lives. So, for example, for us, it was suggested that they took photos at the time. It didn't occur to me to take photos as my child was dying. However, those photos are going to be there for the rest of my life. They're very, very meaningful, because it's a time, it's a thing that somebody did for us. So to be that person that can do something for somebody, regardless how bad it's getting, that's what keeps me going through.
I think that's brilliant. That perspective has really helped you. Again, something positive.
Yeah. I think that a lot of what I am currently doing is based on perspective. I think I couldn't have done this at 18 years old because I didn't have enough, in my opinion, I didn't have enough life experiences, and I was very naive at 18 years old. Now, 20 years on, wasn't going to give away my age then. I believe that with the teaching and with having my own children at home, and having Thomas and all his medical kind of needs and everything that went on with him, has now given me the toolkit that I need to go in and make a difference to others. And I don't mean go in and, you know, perform obs and whatever, but I actually mean make an actual difference in people's lives.
Yeah. And how do you help put children at ease when you see them?
Oh gosh, it depends. I think very, very quickly you get to see what kind of temperament a child has got, and you work with that very quickly. So I have, if you see me walking around a ward, you think I'm some kind of band coming along. I've got a rainbow lanyard on, it's got all kinds of toys dangling off it, it's got a flashy light, got a pocket full of like bubbles, stickers. I honestly walk around, I don't care what people think, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes I walk into wards with my light flashing on in the middle of the night. It's like a disco. People probably don't appreciate it. It totally depends what you're doing and what you're there to do. So if I had a child that was nervous or really anxious about a medical procedure, I would distract them whilst actually talking to them about what's going on. Very recently, I had a child that was very, very nervous because he'd had a bad experience in A&E, and he'd come up to the ward being admitted. And all it took was actually giving him my time, rather than being like, oh, you'll be right, and being dismissive. It was actually listening to him. Why are you so terrified of me? Like, you know, asking him, but not in a, why are you terrified of me? Like in a, well, you know, when you see me, I'm not going to come and I'm not going to take blood out of you. I can't do that. I'm not able to do that type thing. So kind of on his level, sat like next to him and was like, well, what is it that you want me to do to make you feel at ease? And speaking to him and actually letting him have a voice. Anyway, at the end of this, he had a few weeks admission. At the end of it, I had the most beautiful like email saying, thank you so much. Like, you're the only person that's taken the time to do this. And it really, really put him at ease. And as I saw him through his admission, he really, really, he lightened up towards certain people anyway.
Oh, that's so
The
lovely.
people that will come and take blood, though.
That's exactly what I was thinking. I was like, the phlebotomist, probably not.
There's always going to be those people that you just know, but that's why we have treatment rooms rather than treating in their bed spaces.
Yeah, makes a lot of
safe
sense.
spaces, yeah.
And on a very similar vein to that, if a child was scared about coming into hospital, obviously you probably wouldn't have contact with them at that point. But if you did, what would you tell them?
Would probably ask them, first of all, what it is they wanted to know and what they were terrified of. And more often than not, in that situation, you would probably find that they didn't actually know what they were scared of. They were scared of the unknown. So if I had the opportunity to talk to a child that was going into hospital, I would talk them through the whole thing. I would talk them through how we were going to get there, what we would do on the way, what the car park looked like, what entrance we'd walk in through, that we would then walk up, we'd sit in a waiting area where there would be yellow chairs or whatever, and reassure them that, you know, whoever would be there with them all the time. I'd talk them through every single step and ask them if they wanted any more detail. If they were going in to have a cannula put in, for example, I might even show them what a cannula looks like, as in like a one that before it's gone in. So, you know, it's not a needle. Loads of children think that you've got a needle in your hand. It's actually a piece of plastic that's just in your hand. Look, it's really bendy. Do you want to hold it? Do you want to feel it? I'd give them as much opportunity as they possibly could to feel like they know what's about to happen, because a lot of fear is anticipation.
Yeah,
and so I try and take that anticipation away.
And what do you think is the most important thing that nursing's taught you?
That's a very good question. Oh God, I don't know. What's nursing taught me? It has taught me that I need to not be so sensitive to certain things. Sometimes people are just so busy that actually they don't mean to be rude to you. They're just busy.
Yeah.
But maybe not that. What has nursing taught me? There are certain situations in life where you may have been afraid previously. Like, I might have been afraid at one point to ask somebody what their condition was, if it was obvious they had a condition.
Yeah.
Whereas now, I wouldn't be afraid in the slightest. I would have an open chat with the person or with their parents or whatever, and I would ask how their experiences were, and, you know, just how their condition or their child's condition makes a difference to their life, what it is that they're able to access. You know, it's just I'm bodging this one up, but
No.
Basically, like I have, I suppose as like a young adult, I'd always be a little bit afraid of being able to talk openly about something, because you don't know if do you acknowledge the fact that you're talking to somebody that has a child sitting with them that has Down syndrome. Previously, I wouldn't have done. Whereas now, I've had a child that had a syndrome. He had the George syndrome, 22q11. And whilst I don't want people to see him with the syndrome, I would be more than happy to talk through what it was, because I want to make people aware of that, because it's all about kind of breaking down these barriers of it being what's the word I'm looking for? It being a taboo to talk about certain things. Like,
I know exactly what you mean. I am needing to use a wheelchair part-time,
okay.
and I'm very open about it. And it's one of the things I love about kids, because whenever I go to hospital, I almost invariably have a child come up to me and say to me, "Why are you in the wheelchair?"
Yeah,
And
exactly.
me,
I mean, I wouldn't do that as an adult, but I would do it in a different way.
But for me, it's quite a different answer than being, my legs don't work properly, or a different explanation. I always use the explanation of my legs get tired very quickly.
Okay.
Like when you run for a long time and your legs get very tired, that's what mine do.
Okay.
And it's very sweet, always their reactions.
That's what I mean. So I saw a child on the ward the other day, and again, no confidentiality breaking, but as it turned out, I'd actually, through my own communities, so we have I have a page called Tom's Journey for Thomas, obviously. Through his community, I had kind of connected with some other communities, like the Batten disease community, for example. And the child that came into the ward, I recognized his name, and then I recognized the child the minute I saw her, and I was like, oh gosh, like I know you because I followed your journey for however many years, but I know that I can't treat your child because of this situation. But I just want to say, oh my gosh, what an amazing life you're giving him. Like, this child wants for nothing. I'm pretty sure he's like abseiled and all that the thing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But is severely life limited. And I think being able to approach the parents that this is, like, although there is a severe life limiting condition that will be terminal, the opportunities of that child is being given because of it. And then the barriers that are broken down by talking about it is just really important, I think.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. It shouldn't be a taboo. And if you weren't a children's nurse, what would you have done? Would you have stayed as a teacher, do you think?
Yeah, I think I would have done, yeah. I think it's very easy to stay comfortable and to not give up what is seen as a secure job, which it was, for a job that I was actually quite good at without being big-headed. Yeah, I would have stayed as a teacher, but I wouldn't have got the level of satisfaction and enjoyment out of it. I very much enjoyed teaching, and I very much enjoyed the interactions with the children, but it didn't have a deep enough level to it. It's not, the nursing is, health is everything, isn't it? If you don't have your health, then you've got a lot of problems. So helping people through either not being healthy and dealing with the issues they've got, you don't really get much more on a level with somebody than that, really, do you?
Yeah. And the big question is, would you encourage other people to take up children's nursing?
100%, yeah, absolutely. It is the most, I've said it 100 times now, it's the most rewarding thing I've ever done. It's the hardest thing that I've ever done. I've done 2 degrees so far, and I have had many roles in teaching. This is the hardest thing I've done yet, but it's also the most rewarding. Seeing those kids, particularly seeing them go through from being very ill to leaving, it's amazing. And obviously seeing some of them not come through and not leaving, again, is devastating. But knowing that you've had an effect, a lifelong effect on their family in a positive way, is still rewarding.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for talking to me today and telling me all about your life and everything. It's been so lovely to hear about everything.
Thank you for listening.